Okay. 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 Huh. Huh. मी काहीच करणार नाही. तू सगळा कंट्रोल तुला देऊन टाकलेला आहे. आलं लक्षात? मला त्या मला त्याच्यामध्ये लिहिता येत नाही, वाचता येत नाही, काहीच येत नाही. आलं लक्षात? हा 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 हा.
Hello. Uh, Hello. Good afternoon.
गुड
Am
आफ्टरनून
I?
मॅडम.
Good afternoon, Dr. Rani. So I
हाऊ आर
think
यू?
I'm doing good. Thank you very much.
ग्रेट ग्रेट.
Okay.
Yes, madam. You
Okay. Uh,
you wanted to say something? Yeah. In the next few minutes, our participants will join.
sure.
The first session it was extended by more, I think, more than 40 minutes, and it
I
was so much interesting.
I
And
know.
people also asked many questions.
Right.
So till the last moment, everybody was there. Yeah.
That's a good thing.
So
Know this.
people are enjoying. Yeah, great.
Right. Right. Right.
Uh, how the things are going in Delhi as such, with reference to the pandemic?
The situation is very bad. I don't know what is the status about Mumbai now.
Mumbai is also, actually, we started working. However, issues have not been wiped out. There is a threat, and that threat, we can't say no to that. That
Yes.
threat is existing.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everything is well till something doesn't happen. And the day something happened, that is the
Yeah.
worst day of the life.
Right.
Yeah.
Actually, this Friday, two of my students they tested positive, so I had to shut down the lab. And
Oh,
um, today they went for RT-PCR, and both of them are negative. So I don't know how it is working. A person has to undergo so much.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Our three employees also tested positive, and uh, actually we were also in tension because I worked with them.
Yeah, yeah, I know. I don't know. You promise something and you really don't know the next day whether you'll be even able to execute that or not under this.
Yeah, correct, correct, correct. Madam, we have received an overwhelming response for this workshop,
Okay.
because our speakers are great, and based on the speaker's profile, within 48 hours there were 556 participations from different corners of India.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
That's very
Finally, based on the participants' number, we have to close the link of the
right,
registration.
right, right.
And as we have already decided that the workshop is meant for the professionals, it is
Yeah,
not meant for the students. So
right.
we have only selected the professionals,
Yeah,
professors, then industry experts, researchers.
right, 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 right.
Yeah, and uh, 381 participants have been selected. In the
Okay.
morning, there was a little problem with reference to the video, particularly YouTube streaming.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in the office, but in Mumbai also there are the issues. So I can imagine if the issues are happening in Mumbai, then what is the scenario of villages across India?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Say as good as 60-70% of the population live in the villages.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, that is a big problem actually. For us also conducting examination, that is what we have been thinking. I have 600 students in my class, and they come from remote areas, and I really do not know how we would be able to manage that, because it's a big problem to access accessibility is not.
And particularly in pandemic when we are conducting the examination, my thought is we have to have the open book examination only. We cannot go for
Ah,
the
absolutely. I mean, it really doesn't make sense to say that we will have evaluations, closed book. It's just not possible to do. It's not a wise thing to even say that. So, open book is the
yes,
best. Anyway, students are very smart nowadays. So,
because the results have been skewed a lot.
oh yes, yes, definitely. In our case, also we see the same pattern.
Correct, correct. Our another speaker, Vikas Asawat, also joined this meeting, fortunately. So, Vikas, sir, good afternoon to you.
Hi, Vikas.
I think
Oh, probably he's muted.
he joined. Okay, fine. So, right now we are 40 in the meeting. Shall we start or should we wait for a few minutes? A warm welcome to all of you. Organizing team, I hope all of you are ready.
Yes, sir,
Today,
definitely.
yeah, today we have our eminent speaker, Dr. Archana Chugh from IIT Delhi. She is working as a professor in IIT Delhi and expert and eminent speaker in the domain of intellectual property right. I would like to request Dr. Kiran Bhore sir to introduce Archana madam.
Thank you, sir. So we have Dr. Archana for the second session of our program. Dr. Archana is currently Associate Professor at Kusuma School of Biological Sciences at IIT Delhi. She is working in the area of peptide-mediated therapeutics, governance issues of novel life science technologies. She did her graduation from University of Delhi and worked as NSERC visiting scientist at Agricultural and Agri-Food Canada for 3 years. Prior to joining IIT Delhi, she was faculty at Rajiv Gandhi School of Intellectual Property of IIT Kharagpur, where she taught law of patents, biodiversity, geographical indications, entrepreneurship, and IPR management. She also served as co-coordinator of DST TIFAC Women Scientist Training in IPR at IIT Kharagpur and now also is actively associated with the scheme. She was also conferred Microsoft Outstanding Young Faculty Award. She has worked as patent associate with Bell IP firm Remfry and Sagar. She is also qualified patent agent with Indian Patent Office since 2002. She has granted and applied patents as well as several publications in the area of IPR in various journals of repute and is currently focusing on governance of nanomedicine and synthetic biology. Sorry. We are fortunate to have such eminent personality with us for this second session, and her talk is on innovation and patenting approach for academicians. I will once again welcome Dr. Archana for this program and request her to start the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kiran Bhule. It is my pleasure to be here on this platform, and the topic is very close to my heart. So it it is absolute joy for me to discuss about this area, which is focusing on innovation. So thank you so much, Dean sir, and everybody in the organizing team for giving me this opportunity, to share my thoughts on the IPRs with the academicians. So I'm suspecting that many of you are from academics background. So my lecture is basically focusing on this aspect. I'm just sharing my slides. Please give me a moment. So you're able to see the slides?
Not yet, madam.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Yes, madam.
Now it is.
Yes,
It is in process. It is in process.
It is
Now
in
it's in
process.
process. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Please put it in on presentation mode, madam.
Yes. I'm going to do that.
Yeah, I request all the participants and organizing team, everybody, including myself, to switch off the video as well as microphone so that we will be getting a good quality presentation. Thanks to everybody.
Okay. Okay, so when I do the full screen, actually, I cannot see anything. So, okay, because otherwise I will not get to know your response.
Madam, it is not in presentation mode, madam. You press F5,
Yeah.
it will be on full screen.
So you're able to hear me?
Yes. Screen also visible.
All right.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Screen is also visible all right now.
All right. Okay. But I cannot see the screen. I mean, the other participants. Anyways, we will go ahead now. So, I in fact, would like to start my talk with certain basic concepts with everybody. There are certain things which we just take it as a, passing by things. We use the word knowledge, we use the word technology, R&D, just as a passing thing. So today, first, I will just, talk about some properties, some characteristics about knowledge. And then we will talk about technology, what is technology, and then finally, how it leads us to innovation and why patenting and, the other aspects of patenting are so important for an academic life nowadays. And I will try to give you suitable examples in between. And off and on, since I come from IIT Delhi, there are many examples for me, or at various junctures where I will be citing about IIT Delhi steps towards this thing, just as an example. And we will talk about mainly about technology transfer and entrepreneurship towards the end. So to begin with, we know that the Industrial Revolution, it started somewhere in the 18th century towards the late end and towards 19th century early part, followed by the electric and electronics age, which was, we all know, the 20th century when we had TV and various other electronic devices in place. And then we all know there was a boom of IT and biotechnology sector. So that is somewhere in the late 20th century. And in the case of 21st century, we know that it is in fact a knowledge-based, we are shifting towards the knowledge-based economy. And the predominance would be of the bio-based economy. And unfortunately, in this pandemic, we can see the negative impact of biology on the economy, because of this just one microorganism, the virus, which has already played a havoc, not only to the social dynamics of the entire world, but also, has already done harm to the economy in various unprecedented ways. So, to understand what is knowledge, as you can see, there are various aspects which are associated with knowledge, maybe wisdom, it could be learning process or creativity. And knowledge can be gained through various tools, various strategies, be it scientific, be it art, be it literature. So knowledge is the basis of basically, the entire progress of the intellectual property regime, basically, which we would be talking, or the patenting regime as we move on during the course of this lecture. So there are certain properties of knowledge, which I would like you to focus upon. And I'm sure, you have come across these properties off and on, while you're introspecting few things. We know that, and also, it is something which is related to our culture as well. We know that knowledge is inexhaustible. It improves and accumulates through use. There is one Sanskrit shloka even related to this, that, the more you share the knowledge, the better it becomes. And knowledge is for sharing, right? And it is irreversibly transferable. So this is an inherent property of knowledge, that once it is transferred, it cannot be taken back. So it's like words which are given once cannot be taken back. And then, of course, it is reusable. It is reproducible at a very low cost or absolutely no cost. And you cannot dispossess it. So once you have it, you have heard something, you have learned something, you just take it with you wherever you go. So that is why, nowadays we have exit interviews, we have, in the companies, we have, a lot of clauses where you do not, spill the information, because inherently you have possessed it while working at a certain place. So it is difficult to dispossess, and also it can be rendered obsolete by new knowledge. We all know that the technological advancements are so fast nowadays that the one technology can be turned, obsolete in just a matter of maybe few days nowadays. And also we can have a perfect control over it. That is, we can have secrecy of it. And one great example, I'm sure, you must have heard about the Coca-Cola recipe. So that still remains a secret. So you can have a perfect control over it. If you don't want to spill it, the secrecy can be maintained in that sense. And also, it has a depreciation value which is negative. And you can also codify it, as we will see that we are codifying in terms of manuscripts, we are codifying in terms of research papers, we are codifying in terms of, patents. So there are various ways of codification and transfer, as well as, the accumulation of the knowledge is possible in our memories. So all these factors, as you will see that, they are very important from the academia industry point of view, and especially, when the students move from academia to the industry, all these factors, they start becoming very important. And of course, it is a very strong economic resource, and it has a huge resource potential. That is the intrinsic property of it. However, we cannot value it in absolute terms or sell it or, put a price tag on it. So theft in terms of, diffusion, as I mentioned to you, if you have even overheard something, diffusion is taking place of the knowledge. And that is why nowadays we have so many clauses of confidentiality and everything. During the exit interviews or during collaborations. And also the spillover will definitely happen if one skilled person moves from one place to another place. So, we have to keep these things in mind about, the characteristics or the attributes of knowledge, which you will see, how these are codified in the intellectual property regime. as well as, in the various agreements which are related to to this intangible capital of intellectual property. So as we have understood now that what are the various properties of knowledge, and I think it is now appropriate that we move to the magic word of technology. I say it as a magic word because it's a very specialized form of knowledge and intellect. And it is also a medium for socio-economic change. We all know that technology, presence of a technology can play a very important role in the socio-economic development of any country for that. Almost all the spheres of human life. I think the best example in this case would be the mobile technology, the mobile cell phone technology, which has, completely, or the digital platforms, they have completely taken over the way we spend our days. And they have their pros and cons. And especially in these pandemic times, we can see a lot of positiveness coming from them, although they also hold a lot of negative aspect, and they do have an impact on your social and cultural life. So we have to keep in mind that, technology is not something which is God-given. It is a man-made phenomena, I would say, which has multiple influences. So it is a dynamic process which keeps on moving, keeps on changing, satiating the human hunger for knowledge and, to comfort. So we all know that technologies are being developed basically either for the well-being of the human beings, keeping this thought in mind to give more comfort get more comfort in our lives, or get entertainment in our lives, plus also developing the knowledge per se. But it is a very commonly used term, which any layman uses. This is the impact of technology era, that you use this word, this magic word technology, which has completely changed the way we lead our lives nowadays. We all feel the impact of various kind of technologies on our lives, and the layman just uses this term technology. Even a person who is just driving a rickshaw or something would say that I have taken a new technology phone, or Android, which working system they are working with. So this is something even small children can use this term of technology very easily nowadays. One sense. So much is the impact of the word technology in our lives. And also the rate of technology change basically is directly proportional to the rate of our economic growth. And we have very well seen in our country, India also, that more of the technologies in different platforms, be it agriculture, be it science, robotics, all of them, they have the potential to bring change in our economic potential or the growth. Technology, of course, as I mentioned to you, is a dual use generally. It has its own share of benefits, and it also brings its own misbenefits also. Not necessarily it will have the positive impact on us. It can have negative impact. For example, bioweapons or bioterrorism. If synthetic biology, for example, or any technology which can be used in dual manner for the benefit as well as the harming the humankind, is called as a dual use technology. So it can bring about the socio-ethical change. Our value systems have changed, and there are a few things which would be now probably considered normal otherwise. And of course, it does impact our environment also. So technology is something which is impacting, the not only the human life, but it is impacting the environment, the entire environment where we are living actually. So there are various categories of technology. This could be something know-how or just an information, or it could be just as an object, a good or a tool. As for example, I just gave you the example of the cell phone. And or for example, we use the earphones, and we have an installation technique for production, so that could be just a process. And technology as the personal know-how and the abilities of the workers. So it could be some skill which can be acquired, that is why we have too many specializations in various arenas, academically also. And basically, we will see that with many examples, as if the interest is generated in you and you read more about this field, you will find that basically academic institutions have been a great resource for generation of novel technologies or disruptive technologies, or radical technologies, or the breakthrough technologies, which have impacted the society to a great extent. So there are various other categories of technology, which includes the new technologies or novel technologies, or there are certain core technologies or the key technologies. All these terms, which are enlisted here, you will come across off and on, at certain points in your life. For example, state-of-the-art technology, or cutting-edge technology, the leading-edge technology. So there are various ways of categorizing, the field of technology. So technology comes with the process of innovation. So innovation is a process, and it is basically considered to be an inducer of technological change or progress. So basically, in order to achieve a technological change, there are 5 stages, which have been enlisted here. As you can see here, first is the advancement in the pure science. And then comes invention, which is followed by innovation, which I will focus further in my talk today. And then, of course, if we finance the innovation, we are moving a step towards commercialization. And then is the acceptance of the innovation. Creating wealth out of it, being for place. One thing I'm sure you would have been mentioned about invention or discovery at one stage or the other, during your course of study or otherwise, that there is a difference between invention and discovery. So I would like, just in the beginning of the talk itself, to keep in mind that nowhere I would be talking about discovery. When we are talking about the IPR regime or the patenting, we are always talking about invention. We are not talking about discovery. Discovery is something which has been existing in the nature, and then it has been found out by man. However, invention is something which has been developed by man for its comfort or for its well-being. So that is invention. For example, fire is a discovery and wheel is an invention, right? So please keep this in mind that the IPR regime basically focuses on invention. Invention is the one which will bring about innovation. Discovery is something, merely finding out which is existing in the nature already and trying to understand it. So here, this is a picture which I really liked actually from the Visual Capitalist website. And you can see here, the innovations can be of various types, and they in the sense that they can occur at various junctures. If you innovate how to network, for example, this digital platform where we are interacting today nowadays under these pandemic circumstances is something very innovative. So this is also a type of innovation. If we can bring about innovation in the structural organization of an organization, that also is innovation. And so innovation, as you can see here, even at services or, how to develop your brand in a very different way as compared to the other branding systems, all this will constitute the innovation. So this is the innovation wheel, which is basically influencing the major 3 categories, that is the experience, what we are offering, and also the configuration. So innovation is not necessarily, focusing on completely on science, although majority of it you would see is emerging from the scientific background. So I think now we are ready to define what is innovation. Innovation is a term which is covering invention. and finally leading it to the continuum of commercial use. And also it includes any improvements in its existing technologies. So let us say, for example, we have been taking one consistent example throughout the course of the study here, that is the mobile phone. So mobile phone is an invention. We know that there have been a lot of developments on it, and now we have different platforms from the mobile phone, and various companies are associated with the mobile phone, and there have been a lot of improvements in the technologies. Earlier there was no camera, now we have camera, we have video graphy possible, we have many other things which we can do. Downloading is possible. So even these small little features, which just seem to be very small nowadays, they were not present in the, let us say, the mobile phones which were existing maybe 20 years back. And of course, before mobile phones, we had something which was a step towards mobile phone. We used to have something akin to the mobile phones, but they were very bigger in size. So we can have major innovations and we can have minor innovations. So major innovations, they basically, it has been generally observed, they arise from pure science and they are considered to be radically new or disruptive. So disruptive or breakthrough technologies are like, nothing has been existing in that domain. Somebody has thought about it and has really culminated into a reality. Whereas minor innovations are something which are incremental innovations. For example, all the features which I just mentioned to you regarding the mobile phone are the added features. But mobile phone, the initial mobile phone was actually pure science, where you had developed the communication with one person to another person through this device. So it is very difficult sometimes to separate the major innovations from the minor innovations. So in fact, in reality, in a techno-economic milieu, all these major innovations and minor innovations, they are sometimes dependent on each other and they exist together. So when we are talking about the intellectual property chain of activities, you will see that innovation is just coming next to creation. So first is creation, and then we have innovation, which is a step between creation and commercialization. So whenever we are talking about innovation, think about that it is between invention and commercialization. So invention will come here, somewhere here near creation, and then innovation is a mediator basically between creation and commercialization. So while we are commercializing, we are protecting it, and that is where the intellectual property comes. Rights, they come into existence, and of course the enforcement. So we all know that the intellectual property rights, they are statutory rights. They are given by the government, and that is once they have the invention has a legal status in terms of patents, we can enforce our rights. So enforcement comes into the last aspect of the IP chain of activities. So, we have talked about knowledge, we have talked about technology, and then we have moved towards innovation. I think now this is the right juncture that I use this, frequently employed term nowadays in the academia as well as the industry, which is based on the knowledge-based economy, that patents is something which is known to be the trade currency, basically, between the commercialization of your invention. So I would say this is a currency which you, or the cards that you play with your, for commercialization or for licensing. So it is something which is, it prevents the others from using your invention, for selling your invention without your knowledge. They can't even do that. And also manufacturing. So if it is a product, they cannot anybody, a third party cannot manufacture, second party cannot manufacture the product which is supposed to be your invention. So we have to remember it is a right which is granted by the government of a country, and the term is 20 years from the date of first filing. So we all know that the patentability criteria are basically, I call them as, novelty, inventive step, and industrial application. So something which is completely novel, and also it has an inventive step, and it is not obvious to the person skilled in that field. For example, let us say in the field of, let us say again, the mobile phones, or we can even take in example for just like developing a pen, ink pen. So the novelty would be if you have developed an ink pen which was not existing in the market at all. Inventive step would be that you have developed an ink pen, with the ink which does not leak. And also the industrial application, obviously, it has a huge commercial potential, that it will, obviously the customer would prefer something where there's no leakage of the ink. So you basically develop an inventive step based on the drawback of the first invention, or if it is a disruptive invention, it should have an immense demand in the market, or it should be a push through technology, which is even not required, but customers get interested into it once you have developed it and the application, the right leverage of that technology. So we will talk about it a little later. So let us ask this question, that why should we protect our inventions? What is the need to protect? And why should we even go for patenting? We are now realizing, in India also to a great extent, that patents are, especially, I'm talking, keeping the academic milieu in my mind, that the patents, they have emerged as a strategic business tool. So they are actually very attractive strategic business tool for the young fellows. And of course, they are a way of generating revenue. And also they can help, building these strategic alliances. And also, once you have patented, infringements and litigation sometimes, can also be a source of huge revenue generation in that sense. Why I'm saying it is, for example, there are two mobile companies. There is Samsung, and then we have Nokia. If there is an infringement of patent portfolio of one of the companies, the other one will sue, and that the suing itself or the litigation itself can bring a huge amount of money to the other company. So sometimes such patent portfolio building is also done very strategically. So the other aspect is that we are using it as a tool to enhance innovation and competitiveness. Of course, it is boosting the knowledge-based economy, and that is why it is important that we have our own patent portfolio. And that is not only true for the industry, I say it is true for the academic institutions also, to have their patent portfolios. Each department should have their own patent portfolio. So in the nutshell, basically, creation as well as protection, they are two very important aspects for any invention. So once if you have created something, it is important to protect it also in the right way, so that you don't end up losing the priority over it, or you do not give it as a freehold to everyone to use. I will quickly go through the procedural aspects of the patents. So invention is described in our Indian Patent Act under Section 2, and it says it could be a new product, it could be a new process, it should have an inventive step, and it should be capable of commercialization. So these are the things which we have to keep in mind. And as I have already emphasized earlier also, that you have to keep in mind throughout this talk that we are not touching upon discovery at all. Whenever we talk about intellectual property rights, we are talking about invention. So inventive step we have already discussed, so let me not touch upon it. So patents, we know that they are territorial in nature. So if you have a patent applied in India, you will have to apply for a patent in US, in China. All these countries over the world, they have their own patent regime, patent laws. And because, some things which are not patentable in India may be patentable in the other country. So the patents, like other rights, like the right you have to your property, or any other, we know that law is territorial in nature. So we cannot have one common law throughout the world. So it is territorial in nature, like any other, law regimes. It is a negative right. So negative right means that it basically exclude others. It is not inclusive. It is exclusive. So it is excluding the other people to use your invention or your product. For example, if you have developed a technology, let us say regarding the mobile phone. So you are basically, the companies are excluding the other companies to use their invention. So it is a negative right. And since it is a statutory right, I mentioned to you earlier also, it is legally enforceable. So there are remedies, there are penalties for this. And also it has a limited scope and duration. So since it is a negative right, it is monopolistic right in various ways. So that is why, if you I would like you to appreciate, what is mentioned here, that no person can have, whosoever has invented it can have the exclusive right over it throughout his life. So after 20 years, the information for manufacturing and all, it just comes into the public domain. I will just give you one simple example here, like the Velcro tape, which is being, used so commonly nowadays, was actually a patented product. So it is made of nylon, and it is a bio-inspiration. That is, one of the Swiss engineer had gone to Alps along with his dog for just, exploration and expedition. And while coming back, the dog had many burdock burrs. Burdock burrs in Hindi are called as bichu. So I'm sure many of you must have seen this. It is a seed with the hook-like structures on its top. So he had to remove, all these burdock burrs from the dog's hair, which were latching onto the hair. And what he found, that these burdock burrs, they had very small hooks, which were basically, sticking to the hair, which were, kind of forming a loop kind of a thing for these hooks. And and earned a lot of money, a lot of revenue generation, and ultimately somewhere towards the end of the 1980s, it came into the public domain. So now each and everybody can, basically use this Velcro tape or manufacture this Velcro tape and use it and sell it. So that is how it is important, that the patents, the monopolism of the patents or the IP regime should also be balanced. That it should be a contributory aspect to the society as well at one juncture. So patent filing and prosecution in India, we know that we had the Patents Act 1970, which has been amended many times. So whenever we refer to the act, we use the amended version. And then we also have the patent rules. So nowadays we have a very comprehensive e-filing, electronic filing, which is done at the patent office with online submission of all the concerned forms. Basically, this is to ensure transparency, and it is user-friendly, and it is also, of course, a green step. So I would say, the Indian Patent Office is also moving, along with the other patent offices, which are, becoming much environment friendly, and are also aware of our socio-economic milieu. So the thing comes that who can file the patent? The applicant himself. Applicant means the person who has invented. The inventor himself has the right to file the patent himself. Or we can have a patent lawyer or, a patent attorney, a patent agent. So a patent agent is not a lawyer, but has qualified the exam, which is conducted by the Indian Patent Office. And also we can do it individually or while working with the IP law firms in India. So these patent agents, these are basically, they are working on their own. They can help you. They can be the facilitator for filing. or they can be working with the IP law firms, so they can draft the application and can help facilitate filing a patent. So what is to be kept in mind for India regarding the patenting is that invention, it should not have been published in India or elsewhere, and it should not have been in prior public knowledge. So, poster presentation and, giving the entire description of your work for public use within India, or it has been claimed before in any of the specifications. Specification here I'm referring is the patent. So it should not have been done anywhere in India or the world. So it should not be in the public domain. So that is what we have to be very careful as, when we develop, any invention or anything which is new, any process, any method, anything, we have to be a little careful with this, that first we file there are two types of specifications, provisional and complete specifications. So we can at least file provisional because important is to get the priority. So if you have the priority and you have, then you can easily go for publishing your academic work as a manuscript or in the journals and as research articles. Okay. So regarding the grant of the patents, patent drafting, as I mentioned to you, is an important aspect, and then we go for filing, and then the final procedure takes place, that is the examination and opposition. Once it is over, the patent is granted and it is sealed. So then we say that I have granted patent. And if we have applied, we say that we have applied for a patent. The term of a patent is 20 years from the date of filing, we have to keep in mind, not from the date of grant, but it is from the date of filing. Parts of a patent is almost like, where, we write our experiments in our logbooks pretty much the same way, but they do have a classification, and we do write abstract, what are the keywords, the description, and it is always considered good to, give as many examples possible for your product or your process to the attorney while he's drafting your patent application. Because greater is the examples, the more is the scope of the patent you are able to clarify to the examiner. So the drawings are also included, and claims are ultimately, the most important aspect of any patent, because they are defining the scope of our invention. So here I have just, taken up one example of a document. This is how a patent document looks like. Here, this is the United States patent. So it is being developed by Oliver et al. And then you can see there is a patent number, date of patent, and the title is mentioned here, name of the inventors is given, and assignees. So generally, when you're working with a university or an institute, you become the inventors and you assign your rights to the university. And for example, I have the patent with Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada, so I had to assign my rights to the Canadian government, and so this is how it works. So the application number and the filing date, everything is mentioned here. You can see here, the references, the patent documents which have been mentioned. A small abstract is here, and how many number of claims are mentioned here, and it is also mentioned whether it has drawings or not. So in a nutshell, it is giving you a very brief description about the patent, and by this you can assess whether to go in deep regarding this patent analysis or not. So we can do the national filing of the patent at the Indian Patent Office, and we can do the international filing, follow the PCT route, which can be done at the World Intellectual Property Organization through WIPO. So I would really request you to go through the WIPO website. It has very many documents, even for understanding of the academicians, the significance of the intellectual property regime and why we should, look forward towards this regime. But also you have to keep in mind that we do not, although we can go for international filing using the PCT route, but we do not have any one common patent which will be granted throughout the world. So there is no global patent or there is no world patent. So as I mentioned to you, all the patent laws, they are territorial in nature. So we can have an Indian patent, Chinese patent, Korean patent, we can have, European patent, but we cannot have a global patent or world patent. So please be very clear about this thing, that there is nothing called as global or world patent. So patent, as you have seen, it is a very important informative document which has all the vital information about your invention. And it is also a very important tool for innovation. It can be used as a business development strategy, or I would say it is a trade currency, basically. If you have a patent portfolio, you will be able to attract investors for a startup. Or if you are already an established company, or if you are already an established academic institute, it will help you spin out or spin off, and get the help of the industry. So it is a very important trade currency in terms of commercialization, and it also helps you making an informed decision. So not only the patentee, but also the person who is interested in using your patent will know exactly what your technology is about. So it is helping the other person also to take a very well informed decision to whether to get into an alliance with you regarding that patent or not. So patents, they have various applications. They can be used for technology forecasting, and if we do the analysis of the patents, actually patents are the regime where you will get the most updated information about the technology. And they can be a vital tool for technology transfer, which I will just discuss in a few minutes. And of course, they are serving as a template for innovation, and they also reduce the R&D redundancy. Unfortunately, in India, this is a very big problem of R&D, that there is a lot of redundancy. And if we know what is happening in the patent regime also, I always tell my students, and I also tell anybody wherever I'm just discussing about the IP regime, that it's very important that we emphasize to look into the patent regime of the technology of your interest, because that will help you reduce the redundancy of your R&D. And of course, patents, they are very vital tools for the economic growth. And since they are the trade currency for commercialization, they definitely are a great source of wealth generation. So these are certain applications of patents which are very clearly known. Also, it is very important to note that the number of patents which are applied for and registered is increasing every year very rapidly. But still, at the same time, unfortunately, it is the technology transfer numbers are very low. So these are certain things which in India we have to probably, even in academia, we have to keep into mind that we file the patent. Once we get the patent granted, we have to pay for it. So unfortunately, if we are filing for a patent, we have to keep in mind that we have to move towards its commercialization as well. So basically, we also should do the non-patent literature search also, so that we balance out both the things together, the patent literature as well as the non-patent literature, so as to really know the status of our technology and where the invention really needs to be improvised upon. So I have just taken example of some of the latest technologies. For example, here we have the drones or the UAVs and the nanobioelectronics. So here what we can do is that we can have a search strings for searching the, doing the technology scan basically. So we have the nanorobo, so we can feed in nanorobo, nanobot, nanoid or nanite. And then we have the nanobiosensors, and then we have nanofactory. So all these keywords, they fall under nanobioelectronics. So if we want to do the pattern landscaping, or we want to understand, where the technology stands in the field of nanobioelectronics, so there are different dimensions to it. which we have tried to cover by using these terminologies. And this is how you do the patent landscaping. For example, here we have nanobioelectronics, and you can see in terms of nanorobo, these are the number of the US applications, these are PCT applications, and then we have the nanobiosensors and nanofactory. So this gives you a fair idea that, in which field the innovation or the patenting is happening more and where you can have an edge. And again, here the number of applications which have been filed in the field of nanobioelectronics overall. This is a classification-based, landscaping, I would say, for the patents. So these are the different classes which are being mentioned here for nanobioelectronics. Whether the product has been processed, has been patented, or a process-based patenting has been done, all this you can see here in terms of the PCT applications and US applications. And we also studied, the use of nanobioelectronics in disease treatment overall. So this is how, you can get information. So what I'm trying to say through these slides is basically that, by giving different related keywords, you can do the technology scan and also do the pattern landscaping to really understand where you stand and from where to start with. So it gives a lot of information. So these are very discrete source of information, and also give you the leading edge information. They're actually called as, the patents are called as the global brain of knowledge, basically. So I would always suggest, if you are into research or in academia, please tell your students to refer to the patents also in the related technology which you are working on, because that gives you a fair idea from where to start with. So as we have talked about the patenting regime, and as I mentioned to you, technology transfer is very important in the commercialization of any invention. So patents, they are the trade currency for technology transfer, and basically technology transfer is something which is advocating an idea for change. So something is requiring to be changed, and that is why we are doing the transfer of the technology. And generally, the practitioners of the technology are involved in the technology transfer. So they are basically the agents of change, the communicators, teachers or trainers, technology marketers. So they are basically the ones who play a very important role in technology transfer. So what is actually technology transfer? Technology transfer is a process by which research and other new technologies are transferred into useful processes, products, and programs. For example, if somebody has developed, a drug delivery platform, let us say a robotic platform for delivering the drugs, and is trying to, just the platform has been developed, but has not been able to find enough applications. So there you need the requirement of the clinicians and the other people who will find the technology useful and would make the real application of the technology. So that is where the technology transfer comes and plays a very important role, because that is where its usefulness would come into its manifestation. So that is why technology transfer is a very important aspect between academia and industry interface, I would say. So we did discuss about technology, different types of technology. We did discuss about the characteristics of the knowledge during the initial stages of the lecture. But here I have just mentioned, as a quick recap, in terms of the characteristics of the technology, that it is a replenishable source. We agree to that because technology also is a part of knowledge, and also it has the wealth generating power. So this we have to keep in mind, that every time we are talking about that they have socio-economic impact, they can generate wealth, they can also bring about new alliances, we can collaborate, we can enter into licensing. And it is basically an evolution of managerial philosophy and practice. So that is what it encourages. So these are the basic characteristics of technology, besides having, other impacts on the social, economic, or cultural, ethical aspects. So according to the private sector view, technology transfer, it is a movement of technological and technology-related organizational know-how in order to enhance at least one partner's knowledge and expertise and strengthen each partner's competitive position. So it has to be a win-win situation for any technology transfer to take place. So for academia, if we are transferring a technology, let us say a robotics for for agriculture. Let us say there is an agribot which has been developed in your institute, and you would like to get it commercialized, obviously. So it is a win-win situation for the academia, that you are contributing something to the society, you are also generating wealth, and at the same time it is also strengthening the partner which is entering into the technology transfer agreement with you, the industrial partner. So that is why, and also the other thing is that you are providing the expertise from your side. So it is a win-win situation. So always technology transfer, we have to keep in mind, is going to bring a win-win situation for both the sides. The partner who is going to take the knowledge from you and the one who is imparting. Both of them are considered to be in a better position once this process happens. Now we have to keep in mind that technology transfer can occur at many stages of innovation process. The technology transfer can happen at R&D. This generally happens between academia and industry. Once you have developed a prototype, you are ready to get into the technology transfer with the industry. And sometimes the industry also, gives you the requirements, that they would like to develop some, R&D expertise with the help of the academia for certain parameters. For example, in IIT Delhi, we just received the proposal from the Haldirams that they would like to have the automated distribution of the sweets in the boxes. So the robotics was required, and that is why they would like to collaborate with IIT Delhi in this for this R&D. So similarly, when other defense research organizations and other ventures, they are interested or keen into developing some protocol or prototype, they approach the academia. Also, it can involve multiple transfer steps, just like the innovation process. So the innovation process, as I mentioned to you, involves R&D, and then we move towards the commercialization aspect. So the technology transfer is not necessarily a one-step process. It can be a multiple transfer step process. It can happen at various junctures. So while we practice technology transfer, training becomes a very integral part of it. So that means you are training. So once you are transferring the technology, you would need a trainer to train the other partners, members, to get hold of the technology. So training becomes a very integral part of technology transfer. And of course, the identification of the user's need becomes very important. So that can happen in terms of questionnaires. So there are seminars and all which take place. And sometimes there is a direct contact. And also there is an information exchange. The implementation of the research findings also takes place. And also what is the feedback? So this will come from the person who is strengthening its abilities in that particular technology. So they will tell you that these are the problems which we are facing. These are the problems that we have identified. And you have the expertise from the academia that you will try to resolve. So that is how technology transfer is actually practiced. However, we have to keep in mind that, even if we are doing a technology transfer, let us say from West to India or from India to West, there is a territorial character which is associated with technology. Because it will depend upon what is the market size of a particular technology, and also what is the skill set available on the other side, and what are the managerial styles. It is very important for the success of any technology transfer to take place. And also, what are the environmental factors, what are the cultural values, and also what are the adaptation capacities. For example, like I just talked about the agribot. The agribot, for example, is for mechanization of farming. So the agribot basically would be more helpful, I would say, in the tropical countries here, or let us say developing nations, as compared to the developed nations who already have a mechanized farming in place. So in that case, the technology transfer would be much more relevant, maybe in the South Asian region, as compared to having it with the Western countries. So it is just an example to show that the technology transfer does have a territorial character associated with it in various dimensions, as I have mentioned here. So R&D organizations are basically not only the government agencies or the governmental organizations or the research institutes. There are various large companies who have their own R&D. Many pharmaceutical companies they have. There are many technology-based firms which have a very solid R&D organization. And there are also research-based charities. For example, you have Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, basically, which are encouraging the research in terms of human health. So their main aim of all these R&D organizations is basically to generate and use and derive the value of the information. So generation, using, and deriving the value in terms of commercializing, or in the other sense, benefiting the humankind, could be something where we are deriving the value of the information. So basically, it is create, and then you transfer, and then you commercialize. So these are the major aims of any R&D organizations, although their main emphasis lies on the creation. So they have their own technology transfer cells, and most of the academia now, they have their own technology transfer units. For example, in IIT Delhi, we have the FITT, Foundation for Innovation and Technology Transfer. I think that is the full form, FITT, we call it. So in simple words, when we are talking about the in-house R&D, TT is implementation of, that is, the technology transfer is implementation of your research findings. So whatever are your research findings, you are planning to commercialize them, and that is where the technology transfer will come into play. So it is a core of any innovation process. And also, interestingly, the industrialized countries, they have larger firms, and at the same time, they have very strong R&D. Whereas in the case of the industrialized and semi-industrialized nations, they have larger firms, but they have less or no R&D, which is why the innovations in the developing countries are very low. So this is one of the picture which we have come across a number of times. So there are various types of technology transfer agreements. I'm sure many of you would have come across among any of these at one point or the other. There are pre-contractual agreements, for example, especially in the case of the universities or the institutes, we sign the memorandum of understanding, that is MOU, or we have a letter of intent, or we have heads of agreements. So all these are called as the PCAs or the pre-contractual agreements. And then we have the confidentiality agreements. So in case when we are transferring any technology, the other party is going to maintain the confidentiality of the technology and is not going to share it with anybody else, any other party. And then we have the material transfer agreements, and this is generally for the biological materials, where we share the material with the other party, and that is where we sign this material transfer agreement, where we say that we will not redistribute that material or sell or commercialize it without the knowledge of the other person, or the rights are completely not given for selling. And then we have simple R&D agreements. We have licensing agreements. So the licensing agreements are something which are very, very important in the academic milieu, I would say, because either we go for the startups or spin-offs, or we license our technology. Just as an example, I would like to give you that we in IITD have developed COVID diagnostic kit. So this has been licensed now to, let us say, 9 people, 9 companies. So instead of going for our own startup, the faculty thought that it's better to give it for licensing. So the revenue is generated and it is being shared through FITT to the faculty. And then we have the IP assignment, that you completely assign the IP. That means it has been assigned to the other person. And also we have the technology transfer agreement, sometimes with the students and sometimes as an employment contract. And also they become a part of the termination and settlement agreements at various junctures. So now this is happening. All this which I'm mentioning here is happening in the academic environment as well. So with the technology transfer agreements, we cannot have, we have to keep in mind, because it's a process where the transfer is taking place. So we really cannot value the technology in concrete terms, in absolute terms. So we can just say that it has a potential value, but it does not have any real or present value. So this is what is to be kept in mind in the technology transfer agreements, that we realize that it has a potential value, but we, at the present, when the agreement is being signed, it does not carry any real or present value. So it is very difficult to predict the commercial success of the technology in terms of, keeping this in sight. So we know that it has any technology has some potential, but until unless it is transferred successfully and practiced successfully, it will be very difficult to realize its value. So this is just to give you an idea that the industry return from IP is basically, just to show the emphasis of intellectual property regime. Pharma companies are at the top, and then the industry return comes from the computer software, then finally hospital instruments and chemicals, and then industrial machinery and foods and cosmetics. So these are the industries which are thriving upon by using the IP regime. And they are contributing, the IP is contributing towards their growth. In fact, in US, sorry, 91% of the firms, they have IP, and 62% are protected by the patents and the copyrights, and 30% they generally license their IP to the others. And that is what is being said, that Europe makes science, US innovates, and Japan commercializes. I would like you to think about what is the status of India. Probably we should be somewhere at a better position now for innovation and commercialization of our inventions. So there are various innovation models to keep in mind. We have product life cycle, where you develop the product, you introduce in the market, see its growth, finally it reaches maturity. It's like a sigmoidal curve and reaches its saturation and decline. So this typically happens for any technology, even if it is a radical technology, but this is very true in the case of the incremental technologies. And demand pull, for example, there is a market need. For example, we were talking about the mobile phones, that they should have a camera. People were thinking, instead of carrying a separate camera, if we can have a infused camera within the mobile phone. So this is like a demand pull, that is, the customers wanted it. And let us say, we have the technology push, where you have done some basic science research and you think that it can really contribute to the humankind, benefit of the humankind. Then you go for the technology push. So these technologies which are, not being demanded by the customers or are the need of the market, but they have been developed as a radical technologies, completely disruptive. For example, let us say the radio. It is completely technology push. So this is how, the different innovation models are being proposed. So when we have talked about the patents, their significance in technology transfer, we have talked about what is technology transfer. And I think we can now talk about the entire portfolio building of the intellectual property. So I would be mainly focusing, although there are many intellectual property rights, as you would have known by now, I'm focusing mainly on the patents. So we can say that we will be talking about the patent portfolio creation. So what you do is that first you do the search. You look for the patent. You do mining, basically look for the patents which are related to the technology of your interest, where you want to, invest your R&D. Then you do the mapping. So you, as I have shown you what I did for nanobioelectronics. We did the patent mapping in terms of the institute, the US applications, or the patent PCT applications. So you can do geographical mapping. You can do year-wise mapping. You can, so that will also give you an idea, that which year has contributed mainly for the technology development. And also you can carry out the market survey to find out what is the need, requirement. For example, the COVID diagnostic kit, which has been developed by IITD right now, is for example, the need was a need of the hour. We needed the diagnostic kit which could serve as a solid base for detecting the disease, the corona, and at the same time, there was already an existing technology gap. So it was assessing much more faster, it is cheaper. So it could, the gap could be of any type, whether it is technology based or economic based. So that is how you target and prioritize, achieving the, in order to achieve the particular desired product or the process in the market for a particular technology. So the IP portfolio management basically consists of the strategy. You have to be very strategic. As I mentioned to you, you must ask your students in the academia, or we have the patent cells in the industry, or the IP cells in the companies. So they will strategize everything. They will do the technology scanning, and they will present you all the graphs and make a presentation about what are the various aspects which are useful. And then, of course, we should have our own robust IP policies. And I emphasize on the IP policies here, especially in context of the institutes and universities and organizations. There is a lack of a proper IP policy, and probably that is what deters the faculty to go for patenting also sometimes. So that is also something very important. And of course, valuation, audit, and insurance and all, they are much more relevant to the commercial sectors as compared to the academia. So overall, an institute should have an IP management cell or a toolkit with a proper toolkit in its place, which is aiming basically to reduce the redundant R&D activity. For example, in IITD, we used to have, if somebody wants to go for patent filing, the invention would be, shared with the confidentially shared with the 2 or 3 faculty who are expert in that field. They will analyze your invention. You will have to make a presentation, and they will assess. They will ask you the questions. And so basically, they are trying to find out if the R&D activity which you have carried out is not redundant. So then only the next step would be that your FITT are the IP cell would basically go forward for patenting. So in case of the companies, there should be the possibilities to identify the patent infringers who are using your patents, and also we should share our technologies among R&D. In an institute, the sharing of the technologies basically strengthens your IP portfolio, because if you have a multidisciplinary team, it brings about a more holistic viewpoint and technologies for a particular area. Also, one should prioritize the IP portfolio in order to identify the assets which will bring the value. So even in the case of the institutes, we should identify first that where our expertise lie. And that is where we should get together and try to develop the technology-based solutions. Also, we should make informed decisions on maintenance of the patent portfolio regime and commercialization and donation of the IP assets, which sometimes happens in the case of the academia that we donate. So informed decisions are very important on the maintenance and commercialization of the patents. Also, we should, especially in the academia setup, as you will see in the Western countries, the technologies have been identified, which can basically give you a spin-off opportunity. The faculties, they have their own companies. There are incentives which are related to it. So basically, the faculty is not deterred, to open up his own company while even working as a faculty in the institute. And also, it is very important for any academician, I would say, to companies definitely do that. They evaluate the commercial aspect at the embryonic stage of the innovation. So just when you are beginning, I would say, you should have a platform where you have people coming from the different areas. As I said to you, multidisciplinarism is the need of the hour nowadays. For example, while I was working with the biofuels, we had one statistician, we had an economist with us, we also had people coming from physics, chemistry, basically helping us to assess the viability of developing the biofuels. Whether we will be able to transport once it is developed, whether we will be even able to transport the biofuels. So all these economists were analyzing all these aspects. So right from the start, if you have multidisciplinary people, the lawyers, attorneys with you, who are able to understand and appreciate your invention in the right way, will contribute a lot, will basically protect your invention in many, many ways, and will help you generate, its benefits in a much greater way and in a much more impactful way, I would say. So I would say in the university milieu, maintenance of the IP activity requires a very robust IP policy, as I mentioned to you. Unfortunately, still we do not have, a robust IP policy in place in many of the institutes. Also, the institute should have, or an organization should have, an empanelment of the patent attorneys to whom you can, contact, and they can draft the applications for you. Also, to get into the technology transfer. So generally, we have the technology transfer cells, which are also maintaining your patent portfolio. Of course, the support from the top and the middle level management is extremely important, not only in the industry, it is also important in the academic environment. And we should have awareness programs, just like the one which we are having. We should have within the institute also these awareness programs. So, maybe each one of you who is attending that can contribute by, just giving one, after attending the entire workshop, one lecture to your students or to the faculty. So awareness about the IP regime is extremely important in order to harness its potential, and also identification of the invention. So the institute or an organization would play a very important role in this case. In certain systems, academic organizations, there is incentivization also for the invention. So if you have a patent portfolio, you get incentives in terms of promotions, or you are offered a different tier system. So also that the institute should have separate budget in order to keep the IP activities sustainable, and also involve the external experts know-how in maintaining the IP activity. So we should have experts which are coming from the different domains in our institute, and they can contribute in our understanding of a particular technology. So there are different avenues for IP commercialization, even for the universities. As I mentioned to you, one is technology transfer, and the other is the assignments, and most importantly is the licensing. So I have given you one example where the diagnostic kit has been recently licensed to 9 companies. And then, of course, we can have the startup. So these are the two generally common avenues of commercialization in the academia setup. And of course, the contract research is also possible. And many of the universities and the institutes, they have their own research parks. So where they incubate these startups for initial 3 years, and they give the seed money as well. And after that, they have to, basically 3 years gives a company or a startup enough idea about its viability. So the research parks are made for that also. The last leg of my presentation is basically, on the entrepreneur and entrepreneurship, a very important aspect for academicians. Entrepreneur is somebody who identifies the opportunity and then he is pursuing the opportunity beyond the current resources. So you have to go one step ahead and also then keep on believing that there is a possibility of achieving that opportunity. So you have to be, I would say, opportunistic. So you have to identify that there is a gap, there is something where you can do, you have to be passionate about it, and you have to be risk seeking and willingness to face the risks. So many times the faculty does not go into that direction. And always, an entrepreneur, whenever you would talk to an entrepreneur, you would realize that he has seen these failures, earlier failures, as symptoms of opportunity. And you should have the hunter characteristics, always alert, monitoring inside as well as outside, and be very flexible, should be focused on deliverables, result oriented, and you should be able to visualize, even if other people are not able to appreciate what you're thinking about a technology, you should not be disturbed about it. So you should be a concrete thinker, I would say. And you should have a good understanding of the market, the technology, what people would be interested in it, what are the constraints you would come across, how would you operate. And the most important thing is that an entrepreneur would be observing the life, real people in the real life. So that is a very important characteristic, you will see among the people who are entering into the startups or, having their own spin-offs from the universities. And an inventor or a researcher should focus on any unexpected result. And also believe me that, the negative results are also sometimes good to have. And negative results even in the industry are considered to be, not to be displayed, because if you want to have a edge over the competitor, you will let the competitor keep on probably using the same path, but you know that this will yield nowhere. So even negative results can give you benefit, though not always in the terms of monetary aspects, but can give you benefit in terms of time and other dimensions. So a researcher should always keep an eye, should not get deterred if he is getting some unexpected result, but rather he or she should think that where it could lead me and what it would mean if it is exploited, and how could I convert this into an opportunity. So these are the questions one should ask, that how should I go about if I'm getting some unexpected result, which actually happens very frequently. So this is how a researcher should basically focus on these things. And at the same time, you should be risk taking. So there are 4 angels for an entrepreneur. Basically, a sponsor who will promote the idea, a shaper who will help you, develop your idea, innovation real. And then there is a sounding board, a person who knows the practicalities, is giving you a broader knowledge, and is a strategy consultant. And somebody who is specialized in the skill will be also contributing, towards the entrepreneurial skills of an entrepreneur. So they can be your friend, they could be your professionals. All these people, they are basically considered to be angels for an entrepreneur. So basically, entrepreneur is a seeker. So he will seek or learn from anybody who would meet. So that is why I said that you observe the real people in the real life. And that is what would lead you towards the confidence to become an entrepreneur. So this is in a nutshell the entrepreneurial cycle, where you develop the skill and examine the opportunities, generate the ideas, and then use all the available resources to exploit that opportunity, and then you plan and prepare venture thoroughly. So entrepreneurial cycle, basically this is the generalized cycle which I have shown here. And patenting regime, of course, is a very important aspect on the knowledge-based economy, and where the inventions play a very important role, because that is a very important card entrepreneur has in his hand to get the investment done for his entrepreneurial venture. So there are certain special characteristics which an entrepreneurial enterprise should have. should be ready for a change, should be, a go-getter, an opportunistic, should respond and be able to exploit strategically, and also should have innovative skills for conquering the new markets and winning new customers. So that is how you broaden your base, and you make your market value, market presence realized. So in the entire entrepreneurship, especially with the science-based or technology-based entrepreneurship, IP ownership issues are very critical. They should be set forth, very clearly if you are, entering into developing your own company or a startup. So one should be very clear who actually owns it and how you're going to protect it, whether you're going to keep it as a, know-how, or you're going for a patenting regime completely. And also, you have to tell the entire story to the investors, because obviously, you would need the entire, background to be given to the investor, because he also wants to realize the value of each penny he's going to invest. And also, what is the labor cost of a project, the attorney fees, the office filing fee, patent office filing fees, and all these things should be kept in mind while you're asking or seeking for financial help from the investors. So in the last, I think we can just now talk about the startups. There is a IP regime protection scheme for the startups, which has been started by the Government of India. It is offered by Government of India, and it promotes the awareness on and protection of IPR among the startup companies. So basically, you will see that all these startup companies are, even DBT BIRAC, Department of the DAE, Department of Atomic Energy, DRDO, all they are coming up with, the calls for the innovations and the proposals which are supporting some breakthrough technologies. So basically, the scheme which has come for the startup, it is a facilitation support which is being given by the impaneled IP facilitators, which generally involve the patent agents. And the fees is actually to be paid by the government, or the official fees is to be paid by the startup, and the professional fees is paying to the attorneys and all will be, the agents will be taken care of by the Government of India. So if you are interested, you can visit this document on there's a link which is there on the ipindia.nic.in, and you can go through this document. It basically shows the IPR facilitation and the startups. So basically, it talks about the Startup India Action Plan. And I think academia can really, really contribute and, take advantage of this action plan by introducing new technologies which are, in the budding stage at different platforms in India. So I thank you very much for your attention and patient listening. This is all I have to offer right now. I would be very happy to answer your questions, and I hope you have been able to get few things from the lecture.
Thank you, madam. Thank you very much for your wonderful session.
Thank you.
Participants, if you have some questions, one by one, you can ask the question. You can write in the chat box also. I shall read for you.
Hello.
Yes.
Good afternoon, madam.
Good afternoon.
Am I audible?
Yes,
Yes,
you are.
you are audible.
Madam, in a typical academic environment,
Yes.
when you apply for a patent, who has to file a patent, whether as a academic faculty or institute will file a patent for you?
Sorry. See, if you have done the invention, you have carried out the invention, you can file the patent. But generally, what we do is that we hire the patent attorneys or a IP law firm attorneys, and they do it for the institute.
For the institute, but a patent will come in your name or in institute name, madam?
No, we will be the inventors, but we will assign our rights to the institute. So that is what the IP policy talks about. The inventors.
Even in companies also, they file it on behalf of their employees, but patent it will come in their name only, company's name. But what will be the inventor's rule, madam?
See, the inventor name in the case of the company will also remain. The inventor will be the person who has done the invention, but you assign your rights, that is the benefits and all, or licensing, everything will be done by the company. That you will not be able to do on your own, because then they will decide that how much licensing they will fees and all they will charge.
Okay. But if you file individually in an academic environment, how much it costs for you, madam?
Oh well, it
So
can,
suppose you have come up with a product development
yes, it can go beyond a lakh easily.
beyond a lab. Okay. Thank you, madam.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Madam, there is one more question from Dr. Anusuya. She
Yeah.
says, can a new food product be
Hmm.
patented, or it should be the process or technology?
It should be the process and technology. That is what is generally emphasized upon. Food product is not patentable as such. And, I mean, we have different regimes right now. For example, we have geographical indications where you can seek protection, but these are community rights under the intellectual property regime. Yeah,
There
that's
is,
a bit
there
tricky.
is one more question by Watney sir.
Yes.
He says, mobile app, can it be patented or copyright?
Uh, it it is copyrightable. It's a software.
Okay,
It's a,
okay.
you're right.
Madam, Dr. Nilesh Avati from JH Rasan College of Engineering, Nagpur.
Yes.
My question is, we have developed recently one of the machine, that is a post-hole digger machine at our college, and we have transferred this technology to our university.
Okay.
So at the transferring, we could not follow such kinds of guideline, because we are transferring our technology to our parent, within our parent institute, to our university. So is there any problem are arising, or we are follow such kinds of all formalities for while transferring the technology to the our within our system, within our organization?
I did get
Because
your point clearly.
on Monday we are also hand over 6 machine to them.
Okay. So what is your question?
Our question is, if within an organization, single Raison group of institution, one of the our university located at MP, and our college are located at Nagpur. So
Okay.
we are developed one machine,
Right.
and we fabricate this machine on by the name of GH Raison College of Engineering, Nagpur, and we transfer this technology to the GH Raison University.
Okay.
So we already forward sent one machine to them. On the basis of this, they give order to us of 6 machines also.
Okay.
And on Monday we will hand over another 6 machine to them.
Okay. So that is fine within the parent organization. If you are doing it, I think that you have your own rules and regulations for technology transfer to take place.
No, you are about in your presentation. You say about the disclosing of the idea and disclosing of the technology. So such kinds of care we will not take. So is there any importance within an organization will take such kinds of care?
See, your organization should have a common policy for all the institutes to which are affiliated with your organization.
Okay.
Yeah, that is
But,
important.
but rather than GA Raising Group will transfer this technology, so that time this all process must be done.
Yes,
Okay.
perfectly.
Okay.
Outside it should be done for sure. That is
Recently, we developed 2 products. One regarding to the such kinds of machine, and another one is a splitter. We registered this design during the COVID-19 situation, pandemic situation. We developed this splitter, UCS splitter, and registered this IPR office,
okay.
Bombay.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. I think there were a couple of questions. Somebody wanted to know about US patent regime, and so they have their different portfolio, and what is the fees for that. So definitely it is much more expensive than than filing at the Indian Patent Office. So
Madam, there is one more question from
yes,
Dr. Vijay Chaudhary.
yes,
He says, whether in patent application value of inventor and applicant is different or something else.
Value of applicant is, I read this question. See, the inventor will always remain the same. Value in terms of the monetary gains which will be generated after commercialization, that is what is meant. So basically, the financial gains which would be made, they would be basically given to the institute itself, and then finally it will be given to the inventor. So there are many inventors. So there is one lead inventor, then there are other inventors. So accordingly, the royalty is shared. The percentage is decided. So it depends case to case basis.
Okay, madam.
Yeah.
So shall we have finished our questions? If there is any question, one can ask. Otherwise, we will close the question answer session. There is one more question from Dr. Rahul Kumar Sonar.
Yes.
So
I have just mentioned, it is basically the cost is pretty high, as I mentioned, that as compared to the Indian Patent Office. The exact cost I would not be able to tell because they have their cost for each form filing, for the assignments. So it goes well beyond, sometimes 5 to 7 lakhs actually. So it is quite expensive to file in US.
okay, madam.
Yes.
So we have finished our question answer session. Now this is the time for the closing remark. I request Dr. Humera Anam madam to give the closing remark and summarize the entire session. Yes, madam. Madam, are you there? Humera madam, are you there? Yes. Humera madam, am I audible to you? She's there. Hello. Okay. I think she's busy with some other.
Okay.
Nodal? Yeah. Organizing team? Nodal? Am I audible to you?
Yes, sir.
Please give the closing remark.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. So, Dr. Archana Jain has given a very brief introduction about the IPR strategies and other information about how to file the patent and what are the rights. So, I'm very thankful to Dr. Archana Jain for such a good session. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, madam. Thank you very much for your wonderful session. You have nicely covered all the relevant dimensions, particularly in the research domain, particularly in the intellectual property right. And we will certainly utilize these precious inputs to take this intellectual property right journey ahead. So we will be again meeting for the next program where we will be again inviting you for conducting the sessions, because this entire workshop is going to be repeated in the coming future, because there are many participants who are still interested, and we have received the messages from them that they couldn't particularly we couldn't accommodate all the candidates in this session.
Right.
So we will be certainly conducting one more program for all these people. So you will be getting the invitation for the same, and we'll be waiting for your precious inputs once more for the same. Thank you so much, madam, for your
Thank you for having me.
time. Thank you, madam.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Hello.